Speak up.
Salissa Rollins. I think I've got that right. Salissa? Rollins. Salissa Rollins. They graciously came and prayed for us, so we're very grateful. We are going to be doing a symbolic march in about 2 minutes. The ladies of the BPW group, the Business and Professional Women of Wayne, are going to be marching from the front of the museum to the front here. So that will be symbolizing the women that came before us. A lot of the things we're doing today are symbolic, so please remember the history that we're representing today. The program sheets are here. Look at the agenda. We will be ending with the dance. And then after the dance, we will have packaged ice cream. And I want to thank Dan's Glass of Wayne for sponsoring the refreshments. And we're looking forward to his new business when he opens his ice cream place in 4th and Annapolis. But if anybody would like to sponsor refreshments for future events, please contact someone at the museum or me, and we would love to have you sponsor our refreshments for further days. So with that, there is a silent auction. We have a gift basket from BPW. It's worth $85. There's a beautiful things from Helium Studio. There's a nice candle, flower arrangements, and there's a 1-hour massage. That's right here in Wayne. So please put your bids. The bids are starting at 25. They're going up. So that's a worthwhile cause. And then we also have a beautiful gift basket from the Historical Museum. You can look at the goods. There's postcards, the history book of Wayne, a large museum t-shirt, a painting cup, dog tags with the museum on there, and a nice aluminum frying pan that is antique. So sign up here when you have the time. I want to thank you, and our program is now going to begin.
I'll pick it up in a bit. Here to the front, I think.
Okay. Okay. I'll take it. Okay. Okay, park it there. Yeah. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
555, loud and clear.
Can you hear me back there? Want to welcome everybody tonight. I know Nicole Conklin is our president. We're representing the Wayne Historical Society, and this is our August program, and we're so proud to have everybody here. This is our program celebrating the 100th anniversary of women getting the vote. That is quite an achievement. It's so great. So thank you for wearing your mask and physically distancing, because it's great to get together to discuss history. And I want to thank our members of the Historical Society and friends and volunteers, and to Tyler Mall, who's back there. He's our museum curator. He keeps our museum open every Wednesday and Thursday, bright and shiny and telling the story of our town. And we have a great agenda. If you don't have an agenda, please pick one up. And I'm just going to talk, we have some great speakers. I just want to touch a little bit on Wayne history. You know, the first white settlers came to this part right here where we're standing in 1824. There already were the Ojibwe and the Potawatomi and the Iroquois Indians living here for probably hundreds of years. And all of those women, all of us women, were caregivers, firekeepers, childbearers, food preparers. They relied on their menfolk until the menfolk were gone, and then the women always had to be able to rely on their natural strengths. We are like chameleons. We're soft and gentle, but we're strong mama bears when we have to be. Frontier women here in Lincoln Township had to be skilled and resourceful. Life was rugged and desolate. Hopefully you had a husband who didn't drink too much and take out their frustrations on you. We did have a husband murder his wife right here in this village in 1828. He was found guilty, and he was the last man to hang in Wayne County in Michigan. They blamed too much drink and too much desolation. That's a sad story, but there's so many good stories. As more families moved into this area, churches opened. The Congregational Church, 1848, Methodist Church, 1848. Churches gave women a place to socialize with other women. Women could find jobs outside of their homes. Our first school teacher was Cornelia Hawley, and she started teaching the little kids in 1838. Girls were allowed to go to school. When the American Civil War broke out in the 1860s, the men were taken away. They were out to war. You still had farming, you still had animals to care for, children to care for, food to make, businesses to run. Women had to do the work of men and carry on. By the late 1800s, women were running millinery shops, photography studios, newspapers, jobs that probably years ago women would never do. In 1896, the Wayne Ladies Literary Society was established, and the second literary society, the Arcade Club, started in 1903. This showed the interest women had to educate themselves about the world around them. Literary societies really helped strengthen the women's movement around the world. The These literary societies also started scholarship funds to help send young women to school. It was proving that this was not just a fad. The women's movement was not just a fad anymore, just some crazy, oh, women are so, they fly off the tail real easy. No, women were getting very serious about this, and it was starting to show. It is now 1918. This is the period we're in. We're at the village town hall. This building in the center was standing here. I'm sure many groups met here. America had now been at war, World War I, for one whole year. And again, women had to show their strength and can-do attitude. As again, they're keeping the home fires burning, and they're taking on men's jobs. Jobs as clerks in the Postal Service, telephone company, working at Eloise, which was a big job funding thing at that time. Everybody knows. So a lot of jobs were being done by women because the men were off to war. Our Wayne High School graduated many women. In 1918, Wayne was a bustling, busy hub for manufacturing, retail, and just ready for women to get the vote and to help make the decisions of running their cities. We honor our women from the past of Wayne, the present of Wayne, and the future of Wayne. I want to now let you meet Susan Glandon, who is the president of the Professional Business.
That's okay, Ann.
Helen
okay,
Glandon.
Monica.
She is president of DPW and the Business Professional Women of Wayne, and also this past secretary of the Michigan chapter. Helen, please stand up. Is anybody missing a phone? Okay. Thank you. Helen. Yes. Yes, you want me to hold it for you?
Does it fit in the clip?
Take it.
That would help, right?
I think you could put it. Yeah, hold it on that side.
Can everybody hear me now?
Yeah.
Good. I'm gonna try to do this without trying to maneuver this in mind. I want to tell you here today. Anyways, welcome everyone. Before I start, I want to thank Ann. Okay. Before I start, I want to thank Ann Zimmerman, a director of the Wayne Historical Society and a member of the Wayne Business and Professional Women. She has been a guiding force in getting this program together tonight. Thank you, Ann. What is a suffragette? A woman seeking the right to vote through organized protest. I am going to share with you some of the events that occurred leading to its final success. The suffragettes were pioneers, a sisterhood that marched together, and we are dedicating this event to them for their relentless efforts to achieve what we now have. The legal right to vote took over a half a century, starting out in various states and localities. It gained strength in the 1840s. In 1848, there was the first Women's Right Convention, the Seneca Falls Convention in Seneca Falls, New York. Women made several attempts to vote in the 1870s, but were turned away. They filed lawsuits, and the Supreme Court ruled against them in 1875. However, these women didn't just talk. They made up their mind and took action. They had amazing courage and energy amazing courage and energy to achieve what we now have. They realized this right wasn't something that merely they had to ask for. It would involve hard work, dedication, and actual suffering. Take these For example, in 1916, the Women's National Party, NWP, focused on passing a national suffrage amendment. After picketing the White House for the right to vote on November 10th, 1917, over 200 NWP supporters, the Silent Sentinels, were arrested. They were trying to reject, and you ladies, you're going to love this one. They were trying to reject the continuous arguments against them that their voting impaired female fertility. They did not have the physical or the mental capabilities of males, and that women were already represented by their husbands. Many were imprisoned in the Occoquan workhouse. They were clubbed, beaten, and tortured by male guards. Rats run freely in and out of their cells. Maggots were in their food. They were denied privacy and the right to counsel. At the Northern Virginia prison, male guards manacled Lucy Burns, a suffragist and co-founder of the National Women's Party. They bound her hands to the bars above her cell and forced her to stand all night. Dorothy Day, who would later establish the Catholic workhouses, had her arm twisted behind her back and was slammed twice on the back of an iron bench, knocking her out. Dora Lewis into a dark cell and smashed her. Anyways, the guards threw suffragist Dora Lewis into dark cell and smashed her head against an iron bed, knocking her out. Lewis's cellmate, Alice Cuso, believing Lewis was dead, suffered a heart attack and was denied medical attention till the next morning. The suffragists dubbed their treatment November 14, 1917 as the Night of Terror, and it helped galvanize public support of the suffrage movement. The Silent Sentinels had one sympathizer in President Wilson's White House. It was Dudley Malone, an attorney who was married to suffragist Doris Stevens. He resigned his position in the White House in order to represent the Silent Sentinels in court. Reports of the prisoner's ordeal in the party newspaper, the Suffragists, outraged the public. By November 28, 1917, 2 weeks after the Night of Terror, the Occoquan prisoners were out on bail, and in March 1918, the D.C. Court of Appeals declared that all suffragist arrests had been unconstitutional. The leaders of the women's suffrage movement founded the League of Women Voters in Chicago in 1920, 6 months before the 19th Amendment was ratified, and 20 million women won the right to vote. Wisconsin, Michigan, and Illinois were the first states to ratify the amendment. 36 states were needed to ratify. In reality, the outlook appeared very bleak based on the outcome in other states. Tennessee state legislature were in a 48-48 tie. With one vote remaining, the state's decision came down to a 23-year-old representative, Harry T. Byrne, to cast the deciding vote. Although Byrne opposed the amendment, his mother convinced him to approve it. With Byrne's vote, the 19th Amendment was fully ratified. It's now the 100th anniversary of being active and nonpartisan, but it has been shown it was an easy task to accomplish. After hard fighting for votes in the legislature and the U.S. Congress, the 19th Amendment was ratified on August 18, 1920. It was signed by the Secretary of State and became law and part of the U.S. Constitution on August 26, 1920. It states, the right of citizens of the United States to vote, not to be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of sex. Women voted and ran for office to improve government in their own lives. In closing, upon looking at the suffragists, that they never failed to endure hardships, were pressed on for our benefit, let it not be in vain. Let's continue to strive for equality in shaping our country for our children and their children. Ladies, Our numbers are large and it influences voting. There are 167 million men in the United States and 174 million women. I would say we have a powerful voice, all thanks to the dedicated women in our history. Let's continue our success next 100 years. Now, I'd like to introduce, we have Alice Paul here. She was from Wayne, correct, Wayne?
No.
Michigan.
No. Where's the national? No,
Wait a minute, you're someone else. Alice, I'm sorry. Yes, Alice Paul, please come up.
I'm from Jersey. I'm from Jersey. Jersey.
Thank you so much. I guess it's not coming off, so I just stand here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I stand before you excited to join tonight's centennial celebration of our right to vote. I am saddened to recall the events that Miss Glandon spoke about. My comrade in arms, Lucy Burns, hanging with her arms tied from her jail cell, while I was taken and force-fed when we protested our imprisonment. I wear my jail pin to signify that night of terror. But this year also brings us another monumental reason to celebrate. In 1972, I began making an ERA bracelet to memorialize when each state ratified the Equal Rights Amendment. And on January 27th of 2020, the 38th state, the state of Virginia, ratified the ERA, giving us the 3/4 vote needed for the adoption of our 28th Amendment. And my bracelet is heavy indeed. But our fight cannot stop. The National Archivist has refused to publish the ERA as the 28th Amendment. You heard how often we fought in the courts to get our right to vote. We no less do that now. There is federal litigation seeking a court order to require the National Archivist to publish the 28th Amendment. There were two primary cases. Last week, the equal means equal case lost the fight when the Massachusetts Federal District Court judge declared that the plaintiffs, two women's organizations and one individual woman, were not the right parties to bring the lawsuit. I'm a lawyer, and my friend Susan Murphy is a lawyer, and she will explain this to you if you want more information about this later. It's truly troubling, but it is a legal requirement. I believe this only sets us back briefly, because this legal requirement should not be an issue in the second case. The second case is filed in the Federal District Court in Washington, D.C. It involves the Attorney Generals of the 3 states seeking publication of the ERA as the 12th Amendment. Those 3 states are the last 3 states which have ratified the amendment: Virginia, Illinois, and Nevada. But Alabama, Louisiana, Nebraska, South Dakota, and Tennessee dismissed their case in Arkansas to join the litigation in D.C., but they seek to avoid publication of the ERA as the 28th Amendment. And of course, as you might imagine, the person in the middle of all of this is the National Archivist. As of today, there are 201 entities, including the Michigan Federation of Business and Professional Women, who are identified as movants within the litigation, and there are another 43 organizations identified as amicus, friends of the court, that wish to comment on this litigation. The amicus includes 20 states, including the great state of Michigan and the District of Columbia. This list of 201 entities is amazing. It also includes major corporations like PepsiCo, headed by a woman, Pfizer, New York Life, the NFL, National Football League, the National Women's Soccer League, who you know has been trying to show equal pay for equal work, MasterCard, Microsoft, Levi Strauss, Kimberly-Clark, Estee Lauder, Goldman Sachs, new people like Spotify and SurveyMonkey, Tiffany's, and of course, the Alice Paul Institute. It may feel like this has taken forever to get to this point. It was December 1923 when Crystal Eastman and I introduced the ERA to Congress. We have been fighting for 97 years. Do not waver in this fight. Do not be deterred. Ladies, I say to you, the row is not finished. Keep your hands steady on the plow and vote.
I am Clara B. Arthur, and if I visited you in 2020, I would tell you on this grand occasion how I came to Detroit from New Brunswick, Canada in 1885, and a year later I helped found the Detroit Equal Suffrage Association. In 1907, I was elected the Michigan president of the Equal Suffrage Association. During that time, I worked to help found the amendment to have all women able to vote property tax and bond issues, which became an amendment in 1911 in this grand state. Some may say progress was slow, but I was convinced that we could win if we kept on fighting. I published a booklet entitled The Progress of Women's Suffrage in Michigan, and it was the start of a long campaign for women's suffrage. In 1918, amendment to the Michigan Constitution granted women the right to vote. This was the result of yearly rallies in the state capitals. I say capitals because they moved the capital 3 times before it ended up in Lansing. In 1918, in the fall, there was no legislature in session. So instead, we had a large convention at the Hotel Statler in Detroit. Our guest speaker was Carrie Chapman Catt, who was the president of the National Association of Women's Suffrage. She told us to the wrongs that need resistance, to the right that needs assistance, to the future in the distance, give yourselves. After the amendment was passed, I continued my activism for causes to help our people. I was the mother of the playground movement, and during my time, 138 playgrounds and 17 swimming pools were built in Detroit. I was the chair of the Industrial and Child Labor's Committee in the Michigan Federation of Women's Clubs. I helped to investigate occupational conditions in laundries, clothing factories, and retail stores, and I encouraged the hiring of female factory inspectors. I was Detroit's representative on the National Labor Committee and fought against child labor and increasing the age of consent to 14. I helped organize the Detroit Anti-Tuberculosis Society. I was the president for 4 years, and I led to the building of the Detroit TB Sanitarium out in the pure country air outside of Northville. In 1998, I was inducted into the Michigan Women's Hall of Fame. I hope to have inspired future generations to continue the fight.
Bluetooth mode. Bluetooth connected.
Hello everyone, I'm going to speak while my dancers get ready. So Anne asked me to put together a piece for today a month ago, like on July 4th. She was like, I know you went to school for dance, to college for dance. Do you want to put together a piece for today?
Who are you?
Yeah. So I got together some local women, put out anybody who wants to dance, come and contact me. I'll send out a video of the choreography and we can get together and learn as we go. So the first part of my piece is a tribute to the 10 suffragists who were arrested on August 28, 1917, as they were picketing the White House. The protesters were there in an effort to pressure President Woodrow Wilson to support the proposed Anthony Amendment to the Constitution that would guarantee women the right to vote. Now, what I've done is I restaged a piece that a man called Paul Taylor did in his piece Duet in a concert, 7 New Dances that he performed in 1982 in New York. And that is supposed to be a reflection of those 10 suffragists. Are we ready?
Can you use the mic?